Porchlight History for Sleep. Episode 4. The Proudest Town in America, Charleston's elite in the 1770s. Good evening, and welcome back to Porchlight History. As always, there is nothing you need to do now. Nothing to remember, nothing to decide, and nothing sudden ahead. Just a long, slow story, told quietly, while the day loosens its hold on you. Tonight we're going to Charlestown, South Carolina, in the 1770s, to spend an evening among the richest people in British North America, and, it must be said, among some of the most magnificently self-satisfied people who have ever lived on this continent. This is a story about wealth, and about manners, and about snobbery, which is what happens when wealth and manners convince themselves they are the same thing as worth. It is a human comedy, and we will enjoy it as one. But this channel tells its history honestly, and so we will also be plain, from the start, about the fact underneath the silk. Everything in tonight's story, every ballroom and racehorse and imported chandelier, was paid for by the labor of enslaved people. The comedy and the wrong are the same story. We will hold both, calmly, the way we always do. So put on your least comfortable, most fashionable coat, and let's go to town. Part 1. The Richest Town in America. Come in by sea, past the bar and the islands, on a spring morning in 1773, and there it is on its peninsula between two rivers, Charlestown. A skyline of church steeples and ships' masts, wharves stacked with rice barrels, and behind them, street after street of tall, handsome houses turned sideways to catch the breeze. Let's get the astonishing part on the table at once. This little city of perhaps 12,000 souls was, by the plain arithmetic of the age, the wealthiest place in British North America. Not among the wealthiest. The wealthiest, and it was not close. The richest men of Charlestown were richer than the richest men of Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, and in many cases richer than all three put together would care to admit. A visiting New Englander of the 1770s, a sharp young lawyer from Boston named Josiah Quincy, went to dinner in Charlestown and confessed to his journal that the grandeur, the plate, the wine, the whole staggering show of the place, exceeded anything he had ever seen or ever expected to see in America. And here is the thing to understand about the people at the top of it, the 200 or 300 families who owned the town, the trade, and the countryside. They did not think of themselves as successful colonials. They thought of themselves as aristocracy. English gentlemen who happened, by a geographic accident they intended to correct with furniture, to reside in America. They were, at most, 2 or 3 generations removed from merchants, ship captains, Barbados planters, and assorted hungry adventurers who had come to Carolina with very little but ambition and a tolerance for heat. This fact was known to everyone and mentioned by no one. Rarely in human history has old money been quite so new. Part 2. Where the money came from. Before we watch them spend it, let us be exact, briefly and plainly, about where it came from, because the elegance of the town makes it easy to forget, which was rather the idea. The money came from rice, from the tidal fields we visited earlier in this series, worked by enslaved men and women whose knowledge had built the whole system. It came from indigo, the blue dye plant whose profitable cultivation a very young woman named Eliza Lucas had worked out on her father's plantations in the 1740s, and which now poured bounty money into planters' pockets. And it came from the trade in human beings itself. Charlestown was the great slave port of North America. Something on the order of 4 in every 10 enslaved Africans brought to this continent came through this one harbor, quarantined on Sullivan's Island within sight of the town, sold at the wharves within earshot of the drawing rooms we are about to enter. The gentlemen of Charlestown did not consider this a dark secret. It was simply the economy, printed in the newspapers between the poetry and the dancing notices. That is its own fact about the age, and we will let it stand exactly as it is, without softening, while we go on to the comedy. The comedy does not cancel the wrong. It grew out of it, the way the town did. Part 3. The making of an aristocrat. How do you turn a fortune into a pedigree? Charlestown had a system, and it worked in one generation. Step 1. Land. Money made in trade was hurried, almost apologetically, into plantations, because in the English scheme of things a merchant was merely rich, but a landed gentleman was somebody. Men who had spent their lives haggling over deerskins and barrels acquired 10,000 acres and began signing themselves a squire with the serenity of dukes. Step 2. England. The sons were shipped across the ocean to be educated, to Westminster and Eton and Oxford, and above all to the Middle Temple in London to acquire a coat of law they would rarely practice. Little Carolina, at the edge of the empire, sent more of its sons to study law in London than any other colony in America, more than colonies 10 times her size. They came home with English accents, English tailors, English debts, and a permanent mild disappointment in everything on this side of the Atlantic, which was, of course, precisely the finish the tuition had been paid for. Step 3. Marriage. The great families married one another with the strategic care of chess masters, Pinckneys to Middletons, Rutledges to Draytons, until the whole upper crust of the province was one enormous, prosperous, quietly quarreling cousinage, and a stranger at a ball could offend 14 households with one remark. And step 4, the masterstroke, forgetting. Within living memory of the counting house had never existed. The family had always been gentle. There was a coat of arms now, on the carriage door, and the silver, researched, let us say generously, with more enthusiasm than rigor. The College of Heralds in London was very far away, and the engravers of Charlestown asked no questions. Part 4. The season. Aristocracy is a performance, and a performance needs a stage and a calendar. Charlestown had both, and it called them the season. The season ran through the cooler months, when the planter families left the plantations to overseers and drivers and came to their townhouses, and the little city filled up with carriages and gossip. and the season had its cathedral events. First, Race Week, in February, when the whole province lost its collective mind in the most dignified possible way. The gentry's horses, imported bloodstock with pedigrees longer and better documented than their owners, ran at the new market course before everybody who was anybody and everybody who intended to become anybody. The Jockey Club dinner that week was as close to a coronation as the province could stage. Schools let out. The courts adjourned. It was said, with only slight exaggeration, that a trial could not be held in Charlestown during race week because the judges, the lawyers, the jury, and quite possibly the prisoner would all be at the track. Then there were the concerts of the Street Cecilia Society, founded in 1766 by gentlemen amateurs of music, which evolved with remarkable speed from a club that loved concerts into a club that loved deciding who could come to the concerts. Its membership was capped, its waiting list was eternal, and its blackball was feared the way sailors fear reefs. The music, by all accounts, was quite good. The exclusion was even better. And running through the whole season, the assemblies, the balls, the dinners of 30 dishes served by enslaved footmen in livery, the drawing rooms where a newcomer's coat, accent, connections, and grandfather were assessed in the time it takes a fan to open. Charlestown could size a stranger in one evening and file him for life. The filing system had no appeals process. Part 5. Keeping up appearances. Now let's walk through the material world of all this, slowly, because it was genuinely beautiful, which is one of the confusing things about snobbery. It has excellent taste. The single house, turned narrow end to the street, its long piazzas catching the sea breeze, its front door opening, deceptively, onto the porch rather than the hall, so that even entering the house involved a small ceremony of layers. Drawing rooms on the second floor, up where the air moved, paneled and corniced by superb craftsmen, many of them enslaved artisans whose names the account books mostly did not trouble to record, though their work has outlasted everyone who signed those books. Inside, an empire of imports. Mahogany from the islands, worked into furniture by cabinet makers as good as any in the colonies. English silver, engraved with the new old arms. Chinese porcelain. Wine, Madeira above all, aged in attics through the Carolina heat, which turned out to improve it, a discovery the town regarded, correctly, as a contribution to civilization. Portraits on every wall, because the town kept its painters busy the way other towns kept blacksmiths busy, every gentleman and lady rendered in silk and lace, and that particular expression, serene, faintly amused, immortally satisfied, that 17th generation aristocrats were in paintings, achieved here by people whose grandfathers had sold salt fish. And clothes. The fashions came from London on a lag of a few months, and the town tracked them the way its sea captains tracked the weather. A lady's gown for a single season could cost what a schoolmaster earned in a year. The gentlemen were, if anything, worse, peacocking in velvet and lace through a climate that punished velvet and lace with a cruelty that bordered on editorial comment. They sweated magnificently and did not yield. There is a kind of courage in that. It is not a useful kind, but it is a kind. Part 6. The Pecking Order. Here we arrive at the delicate machinery of the thing, the actual snobbery, and it worked like a ladder in which every rung was busy despising the rung below while pretending not to notice the rung above. At the top, in theory, stood England, the real aristocracy, the standard against which everything was measured. The Charlestown elite loved England the way an anxious student loves a teacher, imitating it, quoting it, sending their sons to it, and privately smarting at every hint, and the hints came regularly, that London regarded even the grandest Carolina planter as a provincial with money. That sting, never admitted, powered a great deal of the performance below. Beneath the great planter families ranked the merchants, who might be twice as rich but smelled faintly of trade, and who spent their careers converting cargo into acreage so their sons could look down on merchants. Beneath them, the professional men, the lawyers and doctors and clergy, admitted to the drawing rooms on their manners and usefulness, seated at dinner with precision, a little below the salt of the great names. Beneath them, the mechanics, which is what the age called the artisans and craftsmen, the very carpenters, silversmiths, and builders whose hands made the beautiful town. They were respectable, prosperous, essential, and firmly, courteously excluded, and they knew it, and their resentment was becoming, in the 1770s, a genuine political force, of which more shortly. And beyond the town, the back country, the vast interior of small farmers and herders and new settlers, whom the low country gentry regarded, more or less openly, as another species, and taxed and governed, or rather declined to govern, accordingly. The back country returned the sentiment with interest, and that mutual contempt would shape South Carolina politics for a century. The enslaved majority of the province stood outside this ladder entirely, in the age's cold reckoning, and yet held the whole structure up. Every rung of it. That is not a metaphor. It is a description. And the finishing touch, the detail that makes the whole machine hum, everyone on the ladder was performing for everyone else. The planter dreaded the Londoner's smirk. The merchant dreaded the planter's raised eyebrow. The doctor dreaded the seating chart. An entire ruling class, the richest in America, lying awake over precedents. There has rarely been a more anxious form of self-satisfaction. Part 7. Honor, and its price list. A society this concerned with rank needed a way to defend it, and the gentlemen of Charlestown had one. Honor, which meant, in practice, an elaborate etiquette of touchiness, administered at pistol point. The code was unwritten and universally understood. A gentleman's word, his courage, and his family were not to be questioned, and the definition of questioned was generous. A wrong toast, a newspaper squib, a laugh at the wrong moment at the racecourse, and there would follow the stately correspondence, the appointed friends, the misty morning on the dueling ground, two successful men in their best coats preparing to shoot one another over a remark neither could precisely remember. Most affairs, it should be said, were settled short of the field, honor being satisfied by apology as often as by gunpowder, and the negotiations had all the ceremony of diplomacy between small proud nations, which is more or less what they were. But not always, and the graveyards of the Low Country hold their quiet quota of gentlemen who died of etiquette. The same code had gentler chambers. Hospitality, which was real and famous and boundless, the town genuinely loved to entertain. Courtesy so elaborate it could take 10 minutes to get through a doorway. Charity, formal and public. Loyalty to kin that never blinked. The manners were not fake, that's the interesting thing. They were real and lovely, and they sat, like the town itself, on a foundation nobody at the dinner table was expected to mention. Part 8. The cracks in the portrait. And now it is the mid-1770s, and history is about to play its joke. Because these proudest of provincial Englishmen, these anxious imitators of London, were about to lead a revolution against England. The same drawing rooms that measured a man by his English tailoring filled up with talk of liberty, tyranny, and the rights of freeborn men. The gentlemen of Charlestown signed the pledges, armed the militias, and put their enormous fortunes at hazard, and some of them, Rutledges, Pinckneys, Middletons, Haywoods, would sign the Declaration of Independence itself, and suffer genuinely for it in the war that followed. They spoke of liberty, and they were, in their way, sincere, and they held tens of thousands of human beings in bondage while they said the words, and a few of them felt the contradiction and said so, quietly, in letters, and almost none of them acted on it. The age's greatest sentence and its greatest silence, in the same handwriting. We will simply leave that on the table, where it belongs, still visible after 250 years. The war, when it came, was hard on the proud town. Occupation, exile, confiscations, fortunes wrecked and remade. And yet the aristocracy survived, adapted, and reseated itself, and its season and its societies and its seating charts sailed on into the next century, some of them, indeed, sailing still. The street Cecilia Society exists to this day, and its invitations remain, by reputation, slightly harder to obtain than a papal audience. But time, which is patient, had the last word, as it does. The velvet gentlemen and their painted serenity are gone. What lasted was the other thing, the thing they barely thought to notice, the work. The houses the craftsmen built, standing yet, lovelier than ever in the evening light south of Broad. The gardens. The ironwork. The city itself, made by thousands of hands its account books never bothered to name, now one of the most admired places in America, admired, in the end, for the labor, not the lineage. The snobbery is a story we tell for a smile now, at bedtime. The workmanship is still there at sunrise. History keeps its own seating chart, and it is not the one they expected. Closing. That was Charlestown in the 1770s, the proudest town in America, told as truly as it can be told this far downstream, with a smile where a smile belongs and plainness where plainness is owed. Thank you for spending this night with Porchlight History. The music will carry on from here, so there is nothing to reach for and nothing left to do. You may take off the uncomfortable coat now. You were always welcome on this porch exactly as you are. Sleep well. Good night.